It was her birthday, 37 years old. Her family threw her a party in Angie, Louisiana. Joanie Knight sat down and ate 3 skinny French fries and 2 or 3 pieces of chicken. That was it. 3 fries, a few bites of chicken, the kind of meal a child leaves behind. Within hours, she was vomiting so violently she could not stand. Her body rejected the food as if it were poison. It was not the food, it was not a stomach bug, it was not food poisoning. It was a prescription drug she had been taking for 2 years. In our last video, a worm with a boring tooth drilled through a man's stomach wall. This time, the weapon's not a parasite, it was a prescription. This is Diagnosis Glitch. Names have been changed for privacy. This story is based on true events and documented medical cases. Joanie Knight lives in Angie, Louisiana, a small town in Washington Parish near the Mississippi state line. Joanie was prescribed Ozempic around 2019 for type 2 diabetes. Not for weight loss, not for vanity, not because she saw a celebrity on Instagram. Her doctor wrote the prescription because her blood sugar was uncontrolled and these standard interventions were not working. She trusted the prescription the way you trust a seatbelt. The doctor said take it, she took it. For roughly 2 years, the drug worked exactly as advertised. Her blood sugar stabilized, she lost some weight, her A1C numbers improved. She did not know that the mechanism keeping her alive was also slowly shutting down her stomach. Remember that timeline. 2 years where everything worked exactly as promised. Here's the detail that reframes everything that follows. Ozempic is a brand name for semaglutide, a drug that mimics a gut hormone called GLP-1. When you eat, your body naturally releases GLP-1 to slow gastric emptying. The drug hijacks that signal and amplifies it. It tells the stomach muscles to stop contracting. It locks the valve between the stomach and the small intestine. It shuts digestion down to a crawl. The pharmaceutical industry calls this the beautiful break, a controlled deceleration of digestion. Less hunger, fewer calories absorbed, weight loss. But in some patients, the break does not release. The stomach does not restart. Food enters and cannot leave. It sits for hours, then days. It decomposes. Bacteria multiply in the stagnant pool. The stomach descends, and the patient vomits rotting food that they ate 24, 36, 48 hours ago. The condition is called gastroparesis, stomach paralysis. And for Joanie Knight, it started at her own birthday party with 3 skinny French fries. Joanie went to the doctor. She described the vomiting, the nausea, the bloating. Her doctor told her the symptoms were a normal side effect of Ozempic. Give it a few weeks, push through it. That is what the prescribing information says. Nausea and vomiting are the most commonly reported side effects, listed right there on the label, expected. So Joanie pushed through. The vomiting did not stop. It got worse. She began throwing up whole food, undigested, hours after eating. Not bile, not acid, intact chicken, recognizable vegetables, food that looked exactly the way it did when she swallowed it because her stomach had not moved it a single inch. She was not alone. A woman on Reddit described the same nightmare. Last night I threw up for a good hour and there was food that I had eaten the afternoon before. I know it's supposed to slow digestion, but I didn't think it would completely stop it altogether. I'm also exhausted and want to cry all the time for no reason. Another patient ended up in the emergency room. It felt as though someone was gripping my stomach tightly and not letting go. This pain persisted for roughly 4 hours before I started vomiting bile. I went to the emergency room where morphine and Toradol failed to alleviate the pain. They discharged me without any answers. Discharged without any answers. The pattern was everywhere. She went back. A different doctor suggested irritable bowel syndrome. Another visit produced a stress diagnosis. One physician offered an antidepressant. A Reddit user with identical symptoms later described the same experience. The doctors said they would not diagnose gastroparesis because GLP-1 medications delay gastric emptying. They suggested that I start an antidepressant instead. It felt incredibly dismissive. Joanie's misdiagnosis cascade lasted 4 months. 4 months of vomiting undigested food. 4 months of doctors cycling through IBS, anxiety, and side effect tolerance. 4 months before a single physician ordered the test that would have confirmed the diagnosis in an afternoon. A gastric emptying study. You eat a small radioactive meal, a scanner tracks how fast it leaves your stomach. If more than 10% of the meal remains after 4 hours, the diagnosis is gastroparesis. Joanie's stomach was not emptying at all. 4 months of agony ended with a test that cost a few $100s and could have been ordered on the first visit. The moment the result came back, the cause was obvious. Ozempic, the drug she had been taking for 2 years. The beautiful break had locked permanently, and Joanie Knight was not the only one sitting in a doctor's office wondering why her stomach had stopped working. The same drug, the same mechanism, the same break was being prescribed to millions of people across the country. She just happened to be one of the ones whose break never released. Here's where the system was supposed to catch it. Ozempic was approved by the FDA on December 5, 2017. It was approved for type 2 diabetes. The label listed nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea as common side effects. The word gastroparesis did not appear. 2 years later, that was Joanie's timeline. Remember that, because the FDA did not add gastroparesis to the Ozempic warning label until January 2025. 7 years. For 7 years, the drug that mechanically slows your stomach carried no warning that it could stop your stomach permanently. Every doctor who told Joanie it was a normal side effect was reading a label that did not mention the condition she had. Joanie stopped taking Ozempic. That should have been the end. The drug has a half-life of approximately 7 days. Within a few weeks, it should clear the body entirely. The brake should release. The stomach should restart. Joanie's stomach did not restart. Weeks passed. Months. The drug was gone from her bloodstream, but the damage remained. The gastroparesis persisted. She could not eat. She could not keep food down. Her weight dropped. Her electrolytes crashed. She was admitted to the hospital for severe malnutrition. Another patient, Bria Hand, was hospitalized 6 times on Ozempic before being admitted to the ICU. She told CBS, "The stomach pain was just unbearable and I could not keep anything down. I would drink something and within minutes, like 5-10 minutes later, I would be throwing up." 6 hospitalizations and nobody pulled the brake. She told CNN, "This drug turned my life into chaos. It strained my finances, caused immense stress, and robbed me of precious moments with my family. The toll it has taken is substantial and it's simply not worth it. The cost is far too steep." And then she said the line that ends the road, "I wish I never touched it. I wish I had never heard of it in my life." Joanie's doctors faced a choice that should have not been necessary. Her stomach was paralyzed. She couldn't absorb nutrition through eating. The malnutrition was killing her. The intervention was gastric bypass surgery, not the kind advertised on billboards for weight loss, the kind where they surgically reroute your digestive tract because the original plumbing no longer works. A permanent architectural change to her body because a prescription drug broke the original architecture and the damage would not reverse. The surgery saved Joanie Knight's life, but it did not give her her life back. Dr. Pranav Perielwar, a gastroenterologist at National Jewish Health, described the mechanism with clinical precision. Gastroparesis is essentially a delay in the emptying of the stomach. Sometimes it is caused from diabetes. Sometimes it is caused by a GLP-1. Dr. Eleanor Yusupov at NYITcom stated what the label should have said from the beginning. Delayed gastric emptying is expected while taking semaglutide. It's related to the mechanism of action of this drug. Expected. Related to the mechanism of action. The drug is designed to slow your stomach. The complication is that it slows your stomach too much. The side effect is the mechanism. The feature is the bug. Between January 2023 and October 2024, doctors wrote 88.2 million prescriptions for GLP-1 receptor agonists in the United States alone. More than 2% of American adults are now on these drugs, a 600% increase over 6 years. 88 million prescriptions, and until January 2025, not one of them came with a label that mentioned the word gastroparesis. But the paralyzed stomach is not the thing that should terrify you the most. What should terrify you is what happens when a patient with a paralyzed stomach goes in for surgery. In 2023, Klein and Hobey published a case in the Canadian Journal of Anesthesia, a 42-year-old patient on semaglutide for weight loss. Scheduled for a routine upper GI endoscopy, the patient followed standard preoperative fasting guidelines, 18 hours without food. 18 hours. The stomach should have been empty. It was not. When they inserted the scope, they found substantial gastric contents, solid food, after an 18-hour fast. The patient's airway was not protected. Food material was found in the trachea and the bronchi, the lungs. The patient aspirated food that should have not existed in the stomach of someone who had not eaten food in 18 hours. Emergency bronchoscopy. They physically extracted food particles from the airways. The patient survived. At the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Beam and Dr. Hunter Guevara documented a 50-year-old woman on Manjaro. Her last dose was 2 days before a scheduled hysterectomy. She fasted for over 18 hours. She reported feeling full despite not eating. During emergence from anesthesia, while the breathing tube was still in place, she vomited a large volume of particulate matter consistent with food she reported eating several days prior. The food had been sitting in her stomach, decomposing for days, and it nearly entered her lungs while she was unconscious on an operating table. The American Society of Anesthesiologists scrambled. In June 2023, they issued guidance: hold GLP-1 drugs for 1 week before elective surgery. By October 2024, they reversed course. The new guidance said most patients should continue the drug, but recommended a liquid diet for 24 hours for high-risk patients. The medical establishment could not decide if the risk was worth stopping the drug. They changed their mind in 16 months. Joanie Knight eats a few bites of her favorite foods now. Occasionally. That word, occasionally. A woman who sat down at her birthday party and ate 3 fries and a few pieces of chicken now measures meals in bites. Gastric bypass for malnutrition. 4 months of wrong diagnoses. A drug approved in 2017. A warning added in 2025. 7 years of prescriptions written without the word of gastroparesis anywhere on the label. She told CNN she wishes she had never touched it. She wishes she had never heard of it. She's alive. She's not recovered. Here's where Joanie's story stops being about Joanie and starts being about a machine. Novo Nordisk, the maker of Ozempic and Wegovy, reported combined revenue of $25.46 billion from those two drugs in 2024. $25 billion in 1 year from two drugs that work by slowing your stomach. Their CEO, Lars Frigard Jorgensen, stepped down in August 2025 as the stock declined and the lawsuits mounted. His exit package totaled approximately $17.8 million. Salary, severance, non-competition bonuses, pension. Nearly $18 million for leaving a company that currently faces over 4,000 lawsuits from patients who say its drugs destroyed their digestive systems. As of April 2026, Novo Nordisk has not publicly disclosed setting aside a single dollar in litigation reserves for those lawsuits. $25 billion in revenue, over 4,000 plaintiffs, 0 reserved. And in March 2026, the FDA sent Novo Nordisk a warning letter that should be read into the congressional record. The agency found, and I quote, systemic failures with your surveillance, receipt, evaluation, and reporting of adverse drug events to FDA. Not a paperwork error, not a single missed report, systemic failures. The regulatory body that approved the drug found that the company selling it was systematically failing to track what it was doing to patients. 6 months earlier, the FDA had rebuked a television special about these drugs for downplaying the risks, calling the claim that side effects are rare, especially egregious, given the nature of the risks to patients from GLP-1 treatment, including pancreatitis, which has led to serious complications such as organ failure and death. But Novo Nordisk is only the manufacturer. They built the drug. The question is, who put it in the hands of people who did not need it? Enter Hims and Hers Health. During the Ozempic shortage, this telehealth company partnered with compounding pharmacies to sell non-FDA approved semaglutide online. A few clicks, a brief questionnaire, compounded semaglutide shipped to your door for $49 a month. Novo Nordisk called it illegal and dangerous and sued for patent infringement. It made Hims rich. They reported $2.35 billion in revenue in 2025. They ran a Super Bowl ad called Sick of the System. Then, under federal pressure, they quietly discontinued the compounded version and partnered with Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly to sell the real drugs. The company that was sued for selling knockoffs became an authorized distributor of the originals. The prescriber pipeline did not shut down, it changed its letterhead, and the fallout was not limited to adults. Jacqueline Bjorklund, 44, from Louisiana, prescribed Ozempic for type 2 diabetes, then switched to Mounjaro. She vomited so violently and so frequently that her teeth fell out. Her attorney, Paul Pennick of Morgan & Morgan, said publicly, she has actually even thrown up so violently that she has lost teeth. She was the first plaintiff. Her case is now part of the federal multi-district litigation MDL 3094. A lawsuit plaintiff whose name is sealed described a different endpoint entirely. I will never eat solid food again. In December 2024, 7-year-old Jessa Melender from Indiana found her mother's Mounjaro pen. She thought it was stomach medicine. She injected herself with 60% of the adult dose. She spent nearly a week in the hospital. Doctors were concerned about kidney failure. Her mother, Melissa Melender, went on local news to warn other parents. A child injected herself with a weight loss drug because it was in the family refrigerator next to the milk. A woman whose teeth fell out from vomiting, a plaintiff who would never eat solid food again, a 7-year-old who injected her mother's pen, a CEO who walked away with $18 million, a company that disclosed $0 in reserves, and a federal agency that found systemic failures in adverse event reporting 3 months ago. Here's what I need you to understand. The glitch in this story is not the drug. The drug does exactly what it was designed to do. It slows the stomach, it reduces appetite, it causes weight loss. The biology works. That's not the problem. The biology works so well that 88 million prescriptions were written in under 2 years. $25 billion flowed into a single company in a single year, and the label that accompanied every one of those prescriptions did not mention the word gastroparesis for 7 years. The glitch is the distance between the revenue and the reckoning, between a drug that generated more annual revenue than most countries produce in GDP and a woman in Angie, Louisiana who spent 4 months vomiting undigested food because no doctor connected the prescription to the paralysis. Between an FDA that approved the drug in 2017 and an FDA that found systemic reporting failures in 2026, between a company that paid its departing CEO $18 million and a plaintiff who will never eat solid food again. Joanie Knight sat at her own birthday party. She ate 3 skinny French fries and 2 or 3 pieces of chicken, the most ordinary meal at the most ordinary celebration, and the drug that was supposed to help her turned that meal into the last normal meal she would ever eat. She can eat a few bites of some of her favorite foods now, occasionally. This is Diagnosis Glitch. I'll see you in the next waiting room.